Hey guys, Mr. King here. You should be watching this on or around Monday, August 31st. Today we're going to talk about what is science, what is science in general, because that's a hard term maybe to define, but we're going to attempt to do so today. And normally what I'd have you do is I'd have you break into groups and do a carousel where everybody would write their own definition. We go around and look at each other's. It's hard to do that asynchronously. So I would like, if you don't mind, to just pause the video and take maybe just 30 seconds and try to come up with the definition. It's a good exercise, but it's tough to do. I think you'll quickly find out. It's hard to tell what exactly science is. So go ahead and pause right now and think about that. Okay, hopefully you paused. If you didn't, shame on you. You're not doing what you're supposed to. It's better for you. But it is tough, right? And a lot of times I hear students come up with this question like science is everything, or the study of the universe. And it's a little hard, right? Because we know there are some things that are science and some things that are not, right? Like, for example, would you call math, would you call that a science, your math class? Probably not, but why isn't it? What is different about math versus science? Or why would you not call your history class science class? So I created a definition, which is here. I'll move myself out of the way there. I'll be right under here. Science is any field of study and I came up with 3 components. First of all, it's evidence-based. It makes predictions, and it can be tested. Now, there are science terms that go along with these, right? Hopefully through the study of scientific method, you kind of already are picking up what I'm talking about here. But for example, evidence-based. In science, what we call evidence, we call that data, right? We have data, which helps us make an argument. Now, data could be lots and lots of things, but it's something that's usually what we call quantitative. Usually we're counting or measuring. It can be qualitative in different places, but I think the best science is usually one that is quantitative, because anyone can analyze it. So we got to have data, right? So it's something that we have to be able to measure and test. Next, we have makes predictions. Now, in science, we call this a hypothesis. And usually I feel like hypothesis is not, I feel like educated guess is what we hear when we hear hypothesis is an educated guess, but it's stronger than that, right? It's a prediction. It's something that you think is going to happen based on that evidence that we discussed earlier. I'll give you an example I usually talk about is, might be a sore subject because it didn't happen, but March Madness, right? A lot of people like college basketball and March Madness. I'm someone who I like basketball, but I don't really watch a lot of it. I don't keep up with it very well. So, you know, if I were to get a bracket, you know, March Madness bracket, I would be making really guesses at who would win. I mean, I can look at the seed, you know, because usually there's one team that's a higher seed than the other. But I mean, if I hadn't seen that team play, I'm really just kind of guessing at that point who's going to win. But somebody who knows basketball, they're going to make a prediction. They're going to make a hypothesis, because they're going to say, oh, you know, they can look at the statistics. They can look and say, okay, well, I know how many points this team usually allows other teams to score. I know how well their defense does. I know how well their offense plays. Oh, and I've seen this matchup previously. Oh, they played earlier than year, right? There's lots of evidence they can base their predictions on. And again, that's a prediction when you think, when not just a guess, like I think this is going to happen, but it's more, I really believe this will happen because, and you have some evidence there. And finally, you have to be able to test it. If you cannot test something, it can't really be science. And it might even be true, you just can't test it, and therefore it's not really a scientific field, right? I could say that the reason everybody breathes is because there's these little invisible fairies that have buckets, and they fill up the buckets with the air, and they go up your nostril, and they dump the bucket out into your lungs, and then they come back out, and that's how you breathe, right? That could be my theory. And that doesn't do any good, because if they're invisible fairies that you can't detect, then it's not testable. It could even be true, right? But it's just not. If you can't test it, there's really no point in calling that a scientific theory, because it's not. So what I want you to do, or well, I'm going to do it first. I'm going to model for you. You're going to be writing a paragraph today over whether something is or is not a science. I'm going to pick one. I'll pick biology, because that's ostensibly what you had last year. Is biology a science? Well, let me go through the 3 points, right? The 3 points are: has evidence, makes predictions, can be tested. Does biology fit those? Well, does biology have evidence? Sure. You can count species, you can count number. I think the bell goes off every time I make a video, by the way. It's quite frustrating. It only goes off once an hour, but I somehow always, I guess I just pay attention. Anyways, Biology, you can count species, easy. You can count how much of something, how many cultures of bacteria there are, right? There's many, many things. So clearly biology has evidence. Does it make predictions? Well, of course, right? I can predict that a species of turtle maybe feeds on a specific species of plant. And I could do an experiment to see if that's true or not. I could watch the turtle, observe it. I could give the turtle options of different plants and see which ones it prefers, whatever. Like pretty clearly we can test that. And finally, does it make predictions? And then we can test that. I kind of wrap those two up together because they do often go together, right? We make a hypothesis, then we do an experiment. I could easily run a test to see if that was true. Classic example, think about, does music make plants grow, right? That's a question that, you know, we could answer using biology because biology is a science. We play some music to plants and then we don't play music to other plants, make sure they're the same kind of plant, and then we can compare them to each other. This is the basis of the scientific method, which I'm sure you've heard many times before. So what I'm asking you to do, I'm trying to make my video a little shorter today. I know they've been kind of long, is I'm asking you to look at one of these 6 different sciences, okay? So psychology, I'm not saying that disparagingly. I think these are wonderful fields in their own. I just want you to analyze whether you think they're science or not. So you've got psychology, history, mortuary science. I mean, it's got science in the name. Library science, it's got science in the name. Is it really a science? Astrology, be careful, it's not the same as astronomy. Or linguistics. So you're going to choose one of those, just whichever one you think is interesting or sounds most interesting to you, and you are going to defend using our definition whether that is or is not a science. So if it only meets 2 of the components, right? Let's say it's like my fairy, example. Maybe I think there's evidence for it because obviously we're breathing, so of course the fairies are doing that, and they can't swim, so that's why you can't breathe underwater, right? Maybe I can make a prediction. Surely I can make a prediction that the reason why you can't breathe in space is because the fairies can't fly that high. But can I actually test it? Can I see evidence of the fairies themselves? No. So that means that even though I met 2 of those criteria and it didn't meet all 3, it's not a science, okay? So today you're going to do that. It's on a Google document, which will be linked on Classroom. Looks like this right here. Again, I just put the definition we're using up here for you. Here are the 6. Choose whichever one you're going to do. Just highlight it so you can just click, and then up here it's got highlight. I don't care what color, just so I know which one you chose. It should be evidencing response, but just in case. All right, and once you do that, just make sure you turn it in on Classroom. I can't show you because it looks different on mine, but I believe when you're done, if you go back to the Classroom page, there should be a button that says turn in or mark is done, and just make sure that and it should automatically create a copy of this. When you click on the assignment, it'll make a copy for you, okay? As always, please let me know if you have any questions. I do plan on having office hours. If you're watching this on Monday, I do plan on having office hours today, 1 to 3, and for the rest of the week. So I should be answering emails during that time. I've not decided if I'm going to do like a live session. I may do that, especially if people want that. If you do want that, please ask. I don't mind to do that, like on Google Meets. I may do one at the end of the week just to check in on everybody and see how things are going, okay? But please ask if you have any questions, email me, and let me know. Thanks.